Warning. Today we're going to be talking about reality, uncomfortable issues, perhaps for some, for a lot of people, surrounding children, teens, all people. But we have a war going on in the United States, around the globe, but we're going to focus today on the United States, and that is called fentanyl. It's not a drug. I call it a poison. It is time to bring this war out into the public. We need so much more 24/7, 365 awareness. We must have open and honest communication with ourselves. We must learn more and we must talk to our kids. The warriors, we are all about education, raising awareness. So buckle up. You've been warned. We want to protect our children, and we know that you do too. Dominic Tierno joins us. I'm going to read a little bit. He's got a very extensive bio, but I'm going to take this directly from his website. Dominic is a storyteller. Even as a child, he loved the art of storytelling. As he grew into his teenage years with the rise of social media, he realized he could tell stories through video to make the greatest impact. He won his first film festival award at the age of 16 for a short film entitled There Are No Limits. Dominic has since created countless videos used for online marketing, entertainment, educational purposes, amassing hundreds of millions of views around the globe. And we applaud that. Today, we are honored to speak with Dominic about his film, Dead on Arrival. Dominic is at the forefront of educating all of us with his film. Fentanyl is a poison. I get very emotional, Dominic, when I start talking about fentanyl, but we'll get into that. Not a drug. I call it a poison. Kids are falling prey to this poison so easily and ending up dead. Alarming numbers in the past few years alone. A crisis in America. One pill kills. The website, I urge all of you, Dominic Tierno. I'm going to spell that, Dominic, and then TIERNO.com. But we're going to have all this information in the body of the video. Dead on Arrival is free and available on YouTube at Dominic Tierno. In both English and Spanish, you really have no excuse. We want all parents, grandparents, educators, family members. We want all of you to watch this documentary with the kids, with the teens. So with that, Dominic, welcome to the Warriors.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, of course. But first, before I keep thanking you so profusely, because I am on a mission here at the Warriors with fentanyl, I was introduced to this film by Derek Maltz, now retired Special Operations Division in Federal Law Enforcement, working right now Border 911. That's another program, everything with our open borders going on. But we need a drug revolution. So before we get into more of that talk, I want to ask you, who is Dominic Tierno? What do you want to share with us about your history, your childhood, anything you want to share to get us going?
Cool. First and foremost, I'd say I'm a follower of Christ, so I want everyone to know that. And end of my bio is, and which I'm very serious about, is bringing light to the darkness and glorifying God in everything that I do. So I wouldn't say who I am without mentioning my Lord and Savior. And so thank you for allowing me to do that. And after that, I'd say I'm a kid with a camera. Still, and somewhere in here, I'm still a 13-year-old kid with a camera who just is hungry to tell awesome stories and hungry to inspire people and motivate people. I came from a home, or I guess you could say homes, that were rocked with addiction, I guess you could say, in different ways. And I grew up seeing a lot of things. My parents go through a lot of things that I wouldn't want anyone else to go through, or any other kids to go through. And so I was given a talent, and I developed that talent and skill, which is visual storytelling, and have since committed that talent to creating whatever I can to help people avoid some of the issues that I saw growing up, among other things that I'm now learning more about. So my mission is to bring light to the darkness with a camera in my hand or on a tripod or whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Excellent. I have so many questions for you. The first one is, you have a tagline, or I call it a tagline, a story can change the world. Now, let me ask you something. I think people are very visual. Now, you're a creative. Don't you think visuals, films, documentaries resonate much more than, I don't know, perhaps I'm going out and screaming about fentanyl? Tell us your thoughts on visual, creatively, why it's so much better.
Yeah. So my day-to-day work for a long time has been in that space, the social media content space. And I mean, you can look at Google statistics, anyone can, and find out that video multimedia content is far more effective than really any other form of communication at this point. And I kind of caught on to that when I was, again, 12 or 13 and started getting into filmmaking. It's like, wow, you know, this is going to be really, really big, and this is going to be an effective way to get messaging across, and for free. We can go into a little bit of our marketing plan for Dead on Arrival, which was basically nothing, just posting it online. But it captures people's attention in a way that, like to your point, many other things won't. And especially when it's done properly, done beautifully, done with the right music and nice color and visuals, it gets people to listen a lot more than just screaming in people's face or you know, whatever else people do.
Preaching.
Well, yeah, I'm a fan of reaching too, but yeah, I mean, I like using visual elements in cohesion with that. I think they're super effective. So, yeah.
Getting back to that, I preach nonstop. So I'm with you with that. But no, visually, you know, look, I don't even need any studies. If I post a picture online, it will get the most, you know, likes or comments or hits. If I post a study, what's happening, you know, fentanyl in the state of New York, very few hits. So
Yeah,
I
and
know the pictures, people, it's easy. I call it low hanging fruit. It's kind of easy for people to just look at pictures.
yeah, and people are busy, you know, and
Well,
people don't have the same
I
amount
don't
of
know.
time. I use air quotes if anyone's only
I
listening.
I like that because I was gonna say you used air quotes,
Yeah,
you beat me to it. I
yeah,
know everybody's so busy, but, they're not busy with the right things, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now let me ask you something. You were really at first of all, where'd you grow up, Dom?
I grew up in Southern California. Again, beautiful area. Can't complain about where I grew up. Um, Very blessed to be where I'm from. So I'm now in Idaho, though. Were one of the many who have migrated, and we did that around 2020. So
Interesting. That's another program too. 'Cause I'm from New Jersey because I was kind of sensing like you could be from New Jersey or Pennsylvania. I was getting a little like of a New York kind of New Jersey, Pennsylvania vibe a little bit.
okay, so I went to school at Penn State, and
There you go.
my wife is from Newark, Ironbound. So
I knew it. See,
she
like
made
I
it work
got
out
it.
for me. Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
just you're molding together as one. My husband and I, the more we're together, we're like for decades now, we're just like becoming one.
yeah.
That's just what happens, you
That's
know.
what happens. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. This was 2021, Dead on Arrival came out. Really, I think you were at the forefront of fentanyl because we really weren't talking just a couple of short years ago about fentanyl. Now, of course, there's a lot more talk, especially with the border things happening. What got you really going about this in 2021?
Uh, if I encourage everyone to watch the film. At the beginning of the film, I mentioned seeing an article about a kid who grew up in the same town that I did, Aliso Viejo, California. That kid's name is Alex. His mother's Amy, who's the only mom you see in that film. And her son, at 14, took a fake oxycodone pill and was found in his bedroom the next day by his family, dead. And he had been dealing with anxiety and a lot of things that I had been dealing with growing up. And I looked at his picture and I just saw this little kid, and it just floored me. I'm like, what? That's crazy. And at first, I honestly had thought, this is extreme. Like, how did this happen? This must be one in a million, you know? And come to find out, after seeing many more articles like it of people his age, I learned, oh no, this is actually happening and this is actually ramping up. And it's getting younger and younger. And so I realized, as a kid who had grew up struggling with some of the issues that I'd seen these kids dealing with, anxiety, depression, the reason they reach out for these pills, having also done so myself at a similar age, turning to Xanax a few times from a friend or whatever, I realized this could have been me, and this is going to be a lot of more of, kids
Right.
these days. So I need to make something about this quick. And so it took about a year, unfortunately, for me to get to that, and I regret that I didn't make it sooner. But I'm glad we did, because it was still pretty early on in the rise of all this. So that's how it came to be. Yeah.
You took action. I mean, that's a warrior move. That's what I call, instead of, just reading an article passing by, you made this tremendous documentary, Dead on Arrival.
Yeah.
I'm going to be promoting this all over. Now, one pill kills. Explain. How do you describe to somebody fentanyl? What
I
is
like
it?
I like how you said poison. Fentanyl, if you wanted to get technical, in the 50s, I believe it was introduced as it is used in medicine. For example, we had a daughter about a year ago in 5 days, and my wife had a C-section, and we overheard a nurse talking about another woman who was in labor, and she was getting or post-op was getting like a fentanyl drip or something, and that kind of like flared me up a little bit, because it sounds, you hear it in a hospital setting, you're like, what? Fentanyl, the thing that's killing everybody. It's used as a very potent painkiller in very small controlled environments and doses. And unfortunately, that was released into the hands of people who are greedy and evil. And they have since manipulated that drug into a horrible, like you said, poison, which is just, I would call it actually more than a drug or a poison. I think it's a weapon of mass destruction at this point. Um, and so the roots of it, I don't think were evil, but people are, unfortunately. And so this drug has been manipulated into something that's just, again, weapon of mass destruction, lethal, whatever you want to call it. It's horrible. Um, and unfortunately, there are people who are turning to it to use even recreationally at this point, which is mind blowing. But it's a very strong and powerful drug, and very hard to come off of once you're on it. Basically, a dead end road. I've met very few people who have escaped it. So yeah.
It's so shocking, Dom. Like now, when I see somebody and they say no cause of death, when something is immediately, for instance, this Google CEO, he was found 19 in his dorm room. I turn to my husband all the time. I say, I bet it's going to be fentanyl or something cut with fentanyl. Explain, explain that. I'm with you with the mass destruction. I call it a poison. I call it a war on America. This is
Mhm.
what I call it. People need to understand more. That's why we're here today, raising awareness, educating. The kids have to understand. All people have to understand. This is one pill can kill. Now, explain to us what they're doing today with this fentanyl, because it's not just a pill. They're using it and mixing it with other. I know of a case. We work with a lot of kids. She thought she was taking an aspirin from
Wow.
her girlfriend, 14 years old. Unbeknownst to her, it was part fentanyl or something, because the friend bought it on the internet. So explain how this is infiltrating. It's not just a pill, all other drugs, marijuana in addition.
Yeah. So one of the things we like to kind of cut through right off the bat is a lot of media outlets will say so and so died of a pill laced with fentanyl. And the truth is, they're not laced with fentanyl, they are fentanyl. What's happening is fentanyl ingredients, this is what was happening for a long time, and now Mexico's even being cut out of it, from what I've heard from people who work and kind of behind the scenes of all this. Is the ingredients were being exported from China to Mexico, where fentanyl was being created. That fentanyl is coming up through the border into what's called pill mills, which could be in your neighborhood, which are basically just people who are willing to take this fentanyl powder, combine it with a colored binder, and stamp it into a pharmaceutical pill stamp of your choice. So these pills look exactly like a Xanax. They look exactly like a Percocet. If you held one in your hand versus a real one, it'd be really difficult to tell the difference. And that's what's fooling all of these kids. Now, what they're doing is they're buying a pill binder, which you can get off of Amazon. Actually, you can get it delivered to your house, and a pill press again, you can get those online. Those aren't illegal. It's the fentanyl powder they're getting a hold of, and they're creating deceptive pills which have zero of whatever it is, the pill says in it. It's literally just fentanyl with a pill binder. Um, and they're being sold as the genuine pharmaceutical thing. So in that case of that lady you heard about, it was aspirin. Most commonly, it's Oxycontin, the M30, oxycodone M30 pills, the baby blues, Percocets, Xanax, Adderall. But like you said, it's also being mixed into cocaine. Heroin is basically just fentanyl now. There's not much heroin, especially on the West Coast. And yeah, marijuana. People will laugh and go, "Oh, yeah, right, marijuana." It's being sprinkled in marijuana. It's been found. And the reason is because it's like adding I don't like the word magic, but like it's like adding like this fairy dust on top of your drugs to make them 10 times more addicting. And as dealers, that's attractive for your profit margin. If you can sprinkle some of this powder into whatever you're selling, because instantly people are hooked on it. I think it's within 30 minutes, your body starts forming physical withdrawals once you take fentanyl for the first time. And so you just want more of that thing. If I can talk about Alex again, that 14-year-old kid, he had used marijuana. He had experimented with certain things. He was very open with his parents about what he was doing. He actually came to his mom and dad a night or so before he passed away and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I got these pills from a friend. They're oxycodone, and they really have got a grip on me, and I don't want to do this. I don't like how they make me feel. Like I really want to use them more and more." And so his parents had called to get him into a treatment center. Great parents, did everything, explained everything to him, were trying to help him. Called the treatment center, said, "Hey, we don't have any open beds. We'll let you know as soon as we have something available. Honey, go to bed. It'll be okay. We'll help you. We'll help you." Goes to bed, takes one of the pills that he has, and that was the lethal pill. Turns out it was just entirely fentanyl, wasn't oxycodone. And so that's the night he died. The following day is when they had called and said, "Hey, we have a bed open." And so how do you stop these things? How do you prevent them from happening? It's total deception. It's evil, and it's happening behind parents' backs. It's happening over phones, over social media, things that parents have no idea that's going on. So that was a long answer, but that's
No, it's not.
what's going on.
We could talk for 24 hours because we have to raise awareness. We have to educate. It is so bad. Okay. I do a lot of border work. I work with a lot of law enforcement. I work with a lot of kids. We have a lot of, especially teenage boys, having psychotic breaks. They're vaping constantly. We know some of it is fentanyl involved, and people are still not somewhat, in my opinion, people are still in the dark about all this. We know it's ugly. We know it's not nice to talk about, but the story you just described of this teen, I don't know how his parents can go on. They're trying to get him a bed. They knew what was happening. He was open with them. Again, it goes back to our country. We don't have enough resources for everybody. And look what happened. Horrific. And our goal now is we need to intervene and educate and prevent new victims of all of this. You did the film in 2021 and you said that 150 people a day die from fentanyl. Now move it up now. Law enforcement I work with tells me an American dies every 3 minutes now from fentanyl. What do you have some updates for us you can share? Does that sound about right to you?
If I updated you now, this video would be, irrelevant in a month from now, unfortunately. So it's really difficult to to stay up to date on those things. The statistics aren't keeping up with the actual problem. That's how bad it's growing. And it's frustrating, making this film that I believe if every young person saw would actually reverse the statistic the other way. I'm confident that education is the most effective thing that we can do. And so having this film out there for almost 3 years and seeing the numbers continue to climb and, but seeing also the showings and the viewings of the film continue to climb at the same time. It's just the drugs are getting to the kids a lot faster than the film is. And that's frustrating. Or other education. There's other good education. But as far as updates on statistics, I know that wherever it's being shown, it's not just the film that's shown. The people who show the film are instructed to update, on today's statistics and show, hey, this was made in 2021. It's 2024 now. Here's what the number is today. I've heard from young people that actually doesn't move them very much. People hear, 200 people a day, and they're like, okay, I don't know them. You know what I mean? And so it's really interesting how the stats and
Wow.
communication works. Yeah, for young people, I've heard young people say, like, yeah, the numbers don't really make a difference to me. So I'm kind of looking into more on why that is. So it's more the storytelling. It's more like you hear about Alex, you see his family, you see his picture, you hear about what he was into and his little sister, and see pictures of his bedroom, and they go, wow, that looks like my family. That looks like someone I would have been friends with. And that's when they really start to cry, and where it really impacts them and changes their heart, rather than kind of the broad, big numbers.
Right, right, right. I know the first time I've watched it several times. I'm pretty tough, Dom, but I started crying. I did, to just watch that. That was the impact it had on me. Why do you think, maybe this will be your next documentary, your next film, um, kids are so detached from all of this, despite, listen, I do a lot of work with the internet and sex trafficking and all this stuff, drug trafficking. So we have a lot of information. Let's leverage right now the internet for good. You and me are here talking about this, right? And separate. I'm in New York City. You're in the middle of Idaho somewhere. So it's great. We can talk, we can communicate, we can get the information out there. I can watch Dead on Arrival, I can share it. What, so despite all this information, and again, we have to vet through things because there's so much misinformation, disinformation. Everybody's got a platform these days. But why do you think, with that being said, kids are still buying these things,
Yeah.
drugs online? Like, why are they, do they not realize? I'm not promoting drug use, but I mean, where's that safety element? And I don't even know how to phrase this with you. Why are they still doing it?
Yeah. That
Why?
is,
Why? I don't know, because even if you buy it from a friend you think is your friend and you trust, again,
yeah.
I'm not promoting drug use in any way, shape, or form, but that friend could have bought it. Like the girl had the aspirin, from her friend. Why would they just randomly, have somebody drop it off at their back door? Or here in the city, they meet on street corners. I see them, like when I'm out walking. I can
Mm.
kind of tell things. Why do you think kids are just so detached and willing to take that risk when we keep saying one pill kills? Thoughts?
Have you been have you dealt with anxiety and depression before?
I every single day, because I work with a lot of children. And
It's
so it's rampant, it's escalating, it's preventing them from living their lives, this anxiety, that, but look at the world we live in. Look what the kids are watching every day.
Yeah. I asked because I think everyone has in a sense, but people don't necessarily grasp the amount of mental turmoil a lot of young people are under. So that is kind of what I'm going to next, as far as next projects and things, the
Oh,
why.
good.
Again, you can throw the statistics at them, they'll go, wow, okay, but they have this. I had a lot of young people a sense of invincibility, or that, well, that's not going to be me, or it
Right.
wasn't someone close to me, so it doesn't really scare me. um when I know from experience, when you are feel crippled with panic or anxiety or depression, and you can't explain why, my situation growing up was kind of tough, but it wasn't, I was okay. Didn't have a lack of anything in my life. I had friends. I went to a good school. I was healthy, otherwise. And I just didn't know why. I just didn't want to live. I was constantly criticizing myself, constantly felt pressure to compare myself to others, bombarded with media online of people who were better than me, cooler than me, um, c- you know, rejected maybe by a girl who I really had a crush on, or someone called me a name at school. Meanwhile, my grades are slipping and this kid has a better GPA. And if I don't get my grades up, then my parents are going to be mad and I don't know if I'll go into college. Meanwhile, I had volleyball practice or football practice the other day and I missed that throw. And gosh, I suck so bad. I'm such a loser and I can't bench press as much as he does. And gosh, there's acne on my face. I'm so ugly. And, you know, all of these things that they're dealing with privately, not talking about the weight of the comparison, the weight of the just inferiority they feel, the weight of lack of purpose or meaning, or is my future going to be okay? Am I worth anything? It's just, it's horrible, you know, and and they don't know what to do and they don't hear anyone, with a solution for them. They just hear, come on, go get your grades up and be better, do this. And there's so much, so many voices. And it's like, I just want to stop. I don't want to do this anymore. I want my head quiet, my thoughts. Meanwhile, this is not entirely external, by the way. They need to take responsibility because they're listening to horrible music that promotes drug violence and sexual immorality and all these things. They're scrolling constantly on their phones, which is just filling your mind with video after video and different. It's like having 20 conversations at once. You know what I mean? It's basically like training you for schizophrenia. And it's like all of this noise and thoughts overwhelming. And they're panicking and they're depressed and they feel alone and they don't know who to talk to about it because they have to put on a perfect face for everyone. And so they privately on Snapchat, which is just one of the platforms they're on, see someone on, you know, post a menu with all these emojis and flashes saying, you know, got what you need, feel good, you know, Xanax, $5, this, $5, Percocet, whatever, we'll deliver to you. No one has to know. You'll feel better. And these dealers talk with them. And they feel like they have someone who actually wants to help them and who will help them get rid of this pain and anxiety that they're feeling that they need to get rid of because they don't even want to be in their own skin or in their own mind. And so they reach out and they got $5-10, whatever, and they'll drop this pill off to their house, which seems like such a nice thing. And in all of that turmoil and that little bit of trust they have to trust that person to take care of them and give them something that'll help them is total evil and deception that takes their life. And so if you can kind of understand the picture of what they're going through and then how horribly they're manipulated into just death, it's so, I just say it's demonic. It's just the devil. It's just evil. And parents have to know. And like, well, my kid looks fine. Oh, I knew how to put on a face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I knew how to look good. Yeah, I'm good. And a lot of them are dealing with this on a spectrum. Some aren't really dealing with it much. Do a lot of youth ministry now, so I see kids who are just pretty solid. And then I know there's some who are just absolutely cluttered with everything I was just talking about. But all of them are at risk of having a moment of weakness where they will reach out to that person and say, hey, man, can I just get a Xanax? I can't do this right now, you know? And I was one of them. And thank God that it was an actual prescription pill because by looking at it, I wouldn't have known at this point. And that's what's going on. And that's what parents need to know. That's what teachers need to know. And we're not going to stop the drug supply. Some people get really frustrated when I say that. I'm all for, you know, the border crisis is horrible. It's terrible. And I could, again, whole different program, but you're not going to stop it with that. It's getting in through the mail. It's getting through cargo ships. It's getting in. It's already in. There's enough fentanyl to kill every single person in the United States multiple times over already in this country. We're too late. The kids have to know. The parents have to know. The teachers have to know. There must be a light shown in this darkness that they're dealing with in private every single day. And I'm here to shine light on that darkness. And I hope other people will join me in that effort and at least share the film because it's a start. But there's so much more to talk about of what they're dealing with and what leads them to make that horrible choice, among other many horrible choices that youth unfortunately make because of they're young and they don't know, and they're just hurting and they're suffering and they're confused. And
Mm.
so we need to help them.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your personal story. But I used to go out and want to educate kids, and I still want to do that. But then about a year ago, I decided, no, I've got to put my efforts into like parents and grandparents and family members about exactly what you laid out, how the kids are feeling.
Yeah.
Because unless we have, and it's a tough thing, open and honest communication, and then parents will say to me, well, or caregivers are like, well, I don't want to open that door. It'll make them buy drugs or it'll make them, look for pornography. I'm like, they're seeing it anyway. It's all
Mm,
being thrown in their faces. We have every study with the algorithms online, with all the platforms, every platform. I mean, I can go on every single platform and find a child rape video. Now, that is shocking, but we live in a new country, a new world. It's 2024. We have to put these realities out there. So everything you laid out, Dom, is so perfect. We have to get the adults to understand what the kids are going through and suffering from. And those days, look, I'm far a lot older than you are. It was always, put on a smile, put on a brave face. To the boys, it was always like, man up, buck up, and all that stuff. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We don't live in that kind of world anymore. That didn't work out so well. There are a lot of people my age that still report to me, they're carrying that from their childhoods, 50, 60 years ago.
mm.
This is a new everything. I was going to ask you what you want to accomplish with Dead on Arrival, but you pretty much laid it out for us. I want this film to be in every school. I want it to be at community centers, boys and girls groups, different empowerment groups. We need to I'm going to use the word inoculate, like inoculate our children, empower our kids that they're so worthy, right? Because you pointed out, and so many kids report to me, they don't feel good enough. They don't feel worthy. My parents don't listen to me. And that's where the trouble comes in, where they'll go and get that one or two pills. So we need to do the adults a better job. The parents have to parent up. I used to kind of back away from that one because, there's parental autonomy. You can't judge. But with the work I do, the work you're doing, people have to parent up. This is it now because kids are dying. People are dying. This
Mm.
is a war on America. Give us some final thoughts. What do you want to leave us with?
What's on my heart to share is just, I grew up, and not everyone has like a understanding. Well, what do I do? What do I tell my kids? Just love them, show them the film. What changed me is my mom didn't, my mom wasn't, in the middle of kind of knowing how to make the best decisions at the time. And we've talked through that. And I love my mom. She always did the best she could, but she was in a rough situation, and she was single mom at times and working. And it was like taking the weight of all I just said on would have been like, oh my gosh, now I got to figure this out. It's just at the end of the day, love your kids, make them feel seen. They need to be seen. They need to be known that they're not alone. They're okay. It's going to be all right. This temporary problems they're dealing with is just temporary. And these pills are often a permanent solution for a temporary problem. And it's, death and suicide obviously is not the way to go. And so they just need to know that, and be encouraged that everything's going to be okay, that people love them, that God loves them. My mom took me to church, and that really is what brought me out of all this stuff. My relationship with God has absolutely pulled me out of all of that anxiety and depression that I had before, knowing that I am worthy, knowing that God does love me, has a plan and a purpose for my life. He cares about me. He made me one of one, right? There's a reason why I'm here. And and that's really what I've found purpose in, is having a relationship with him, being used by him to serve others, love others. And I believe if they would be shown that and told that it would set them on a path, on a much better path. And so it's a lot of times a message you can't share in schools. Can't walk up to the school and
Yeah.
say, hey, just turn to Jesus. But that's what really helped ultimately save me and help me, and just everyone who knows that's the heart of why I'm doing what I do. So if anything I do resonates, just know God's behind it, and he's ultimately the answer, because everything in this world it's temporary, and it's unfortunately touched by darkness, touched by evil. There's so much we can do, but with God all things are possible, and with him we overcome. and there's victory over this, even when the statistics don't say so. And so that's kind of my last thoughts that I would share, and ultimately what I carry in my heart every day.
I love that, because we at the Warriors always want to give hope. And
Yeah.
you've just shared with us a message of hope, as dark and as ugly as all of this is, Dominic. There is hope in your story alone. And then from the time you're a child, being interested in making, creating, sharing, storytelling, that is tremendous. That is excellent. I just want to throw one last thought in. I talk a lot about parents and caregivers, and then it occurred to me a few months ago, there are so many kids out there that don't have any kind of parent, even in the home present or drug addicted. Like, I've come to the conclusion lately, we have to now become caregivers. We have to figure out a way in society to look out for all kids, because I work with a lot of kids. Nobody's looking for them. Nobody cares about them. And they turn to the streets, or they have to flee, violence in the home, physical, sexual. What are your thoughts before I let you go? How are we going to do that? Because I've been thinking a lot about this lately. Mankind, we have to watch out for all the kids. And we live now in this society, like, don't get involved. It's like, now I don't want to pick on Taylor Swift. I'll just use that as, because she just popped in my head. Everybody seems to know everything about Taylor Swift on a daily basis, or at least the media has us believe that, because she's in my face every day and I'm not even looking for her. She's popping up online in stories. So everybody's knowing and interested, or so it seems. But I'm so concerned about all these kids now that nobody, and I was in Washington, I will not name names, a couple of years ago, a big organization with children. And the person referred to children when I asked a question about, who's looking for these kids, and said, well, we don't look for those. A lot of these kids, they're throwaway kids. And Dominic, that always stuck with me. Like,
Mm.
no child is what?
No.
What? A throwaway kid? That was one of the reasons before I even formed the Warriors. It was like at the beginning, right before COVID, I'm like, no child is a throwaway kid. Do you have any thoughts on how we can all come together more and look out for our neighbors? It's a tough one. And I don't know, in today's society, I'm trying to do it and spread that word. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think we live in a much more antisocial society. Like, we live in an antisocial social society. So it's like everyone's connected online, and kind of in their own little world, and we forget how impactful just you know actual human connection can be, and especially with young people. What came to mind as you were talking is, I see um, older generations talking so much about the problems and just angry and frustrated, as they should be. There's so much injustice, and the country's took quite a horrible turn from probably things that they were used to when they were younger and stuff. So we can be mad at that and we can complain about that all day, or we can actually look at the young people who are coming up and
Yeah.
shepherd them, as you're suggesting, and actually be a light to them and educate them and show them and care for them and love them, and show them the right path and the right way to go if we actually want to see change. Is that controversial? People think, oh, it'd be weird how do I do that? I don't know. Again, go serve in your local youth ministries, go to schools, and go, look for opportunities to volunteer, or clubs, or go coach a sports team, or whatever it is, whatever way you can get in front of them to love them and care for them, like you said, is the best hope that we have, because they're coming up against so much stuff. And if they just see all of, the elders, older people just arguing and complaining about it, it's like, it's not going to give them any equipment to do the right thing, So it's a tough question, but man, it's like,
We got to talk about it. We got to
yeah,
start
we gotta
talking
talk
about it.
about
Like,
it.
I'm on a campaign to get them, like, all involved. I'll do my air quotes now with everybody so busy.
Yeah.
I call it anti-social media online,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of harms. Again, there's a lot of good, but there are a lot of harms as well. But people can do a lot of things. They can support your work. Okay. DominicTierno.com. Again, we'll have all this information in the body of the video. Because frankly, people say to me, I can't handle it. I said, okay, well, plenty of organizations need donations. they need support, retweet facts or share facts online, share good information, share facts, not fears. Everybody can do something. And I truly believe in 2024, mankind, we have to now. It's
Yeah.
no longer like, maybe we'll be a good person and volunteer. This is, our future, our children, not only our future adults, our future leaders.
Yep.
I find it completely frightening, but I know, Dominic, with you at the helm of all this, we are going to be really making a lot of headway. I can't wait for your next film. I am going to be telling everybody. I haven't even started with Dead on Arrival. Like, I'm going to be getting this into everybody's hands. All of my speeches I have planned, I'm going to get it into everybody's hands again, my focus groups, and we are going to spread the word. We are going to raise awareness about this poison, this fentanyl. You have incredible work. I support you fully here at the Warriors. It's available, everybody, free, because we like to share free resources, because we know everybody's burdened today with everything free. I mean, you can't get any better than that. No excuses. Dominic, God bless you. I mean, community creates change is a hashtag we use at the Warriors. I am thrilled that you spent time with us today. We will continue this. I hope you come back and speak to me again. As you say, a story can change the world. Yeah. So, Dominic, please, let's speak again soon. You are truly a warrior. Thank you for all of your work.
Oh, thank you so much. Glory to God, and you be blessed as well. Thank you again for the invite, and we'll keep in touch for sure.
Thanks, Dom.
All right.